How to read a Magic the Gathering card. Each episode in this series has focused on a card with a different card type, and we've run out of the normal ones. As we start to scrape the bottom of the proverbial barrel, we find Kindred, which, at time of recording, has only been used on 62 Magic the Gathering cards. That said, in looking for an example to discuss, I found Tarmogoyf Nest, which is actually a pretty interesting card to talk about, as it has high semantic density and illustrates a few novel concepts. The Kindred card type was first used in Lorwyn back in 2007, but, at the time, it was called Tribal. It was changed to Kindred and first printed with the new name with Modern Horizons 3 in 2024. All cards with the old name have been oracled to have the new name. While this change was made for a variety of reasons that I won't go into in this video, my personal opinion is that it was a good change. As a little piece of trivia, the first time that both the Tribal and Planeswalker card types were mentioned on a Magic the Gathering card was in the reminder text of Tarmogoyf from Future Sight, a few months before Lorwyn. So it is fitting that things come full circle with Tarmogoyf Nest having the Kindred card type. I've already touched on the concept of Kindred back in episode 6, but, as a reminder, Kindred is a trick that lets the designers at Wizards of the Coast put creature types on non-creature game objects, such that these count when other effects refer to objects with those types. This is significant because otherwise, any creature types on non-creature objects don't count. For example, Enduring Tenacity doesn't have to say it isn't a snake glimmer when it isn't a creature, because snake and glimmer are creature types and so don't count unless they are on creatures. As such, if your Enduring Tenacity died and was returned to the battlefield as an enchantment, and you didn't control any other snakes or glimmers, your Ophiomancer would create a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch at the beginning of the next upkeep, and your opponent's Fear of the Dark would have Menace and Death Touch if it attacked you. That out of the way, let's read this episode's card. This card is named Tarmogoyf Nest. The casting cost for the spell this card represents is 2 generic mana, which can be mana of any type, and 1 green mana. As the total number of mana required to cast the spell this card represents is 3, this card's mana value is 3. The color of this card is green, as that is the only color that appears in its casting cost, and there are no other indicators on the card modifying this. The color identity of this card is also green, because those are the only colors appearing on it. Do note that the green mana symbol in the ability text would be counted when determining color identity. From the set symbol and M3C in the footer, we know that this card is from the set Modern Horizons 3 Commander. Worth noting, even though Modern Horizons 3 cards were added to the Modern format, Tarmogoyf Nest is a Modern Horizons 3 Commander card, which means it was not included in the main set and therefore not Modern legal, at least at time of recording. From the gold color of the set symbol and the R in the footer, we know this card is rare, though since it has only ever been printed in collector boosters and pre-constructed commander decks, this is mostly an indication of its power relative to other cards in the set rather than how difficult it would be to pull a copy from a booster pack. We also see the collector number for this card indicates this is card 120 in the Modern Horizons 3 Commander set. While it doesn't say so on the card, if you look it up, you would find that this set has 411 printings in total across various treatments. For example, here is number 68, which is the same card, but with extended art. If you eliminate mechanically identical cards like this, a quick search on Scryfall.com suggests that there were about 60 new cards and 260 reprints in Modern Horizons 3 Commander. Arguably, it could be suggested that all of these various printings and mixed legalities is confusing to new players. It would probably be worth making a video about formats and set legalities, but, for now, just remember that you should always check if a card is legal in the format you are building a deck for anyways, because some formats rotate, and there is a regularly updated banned and restricted list for the officially supported formats, and so, just because a card was printed with the intention of being legal in a given format, doesn't mean it still will be. We also have the art, artist, trademark, and copyright notice. This card's type line is Kindred, Enchantment, Lurgoyf, Aura. Kindred, again, allows this non-creature card to have a creature type, in this case, Lurgoyf. A Lurgoyf is a creature that was made up for the Magic the Gathering setting and introduced on a card of the same name in Ice Age back in 1995. From the few cards depicting or mentioning them, Lurgoyf seems to be a general term for creatures that scale based on cards in graveyards, though quite a few of them seem to have long limbs and mandible-like lower tusks protruding from mouths with too many teeth, so it might just be a species that adapts dramatically to environmental factors. In addition to having a creature type, this card also has an enchantment type, Aura. Any card with the Aura subtype will also have a definition for the game objects that it may be attached to in its rules text. Tarmogoyf Nest has Enchant Land. As enchantment is a permanent spell type, This card would be played by casting it to the stack and will enter the battlefield as a Kindred Enchantment Lurgoyf Aura permanent as it resolves. That said, to cast an aura spell, there must also be a target that it can legally be attached to, and the target for the aura must be chosen when the aura spell is cast. When the aura spell resolves and enters the battlefield from the stack and becomes a permanent, it will become attached to the target chosen while it was being cast. That said, if an aura permanent enters the battlefield directly from any other zone, its controller may attach it to any legal target as it does so. As a general rule, if the object that an aura is attached to, or would be attached to in the case of being cast, no longer exists or is no longer a valid target, the aura will be sent to its owner's graveyard. Alright, basics out of the way, what does this card do? First off, it says Enchant Land, which means that when this card is cast or otherwise enters the battlefield, it must be attached to a land permanent that is already in play. Once it has been attached, that permanent is considered to be enchanted by Tarmogoyf Nest. Next, it says Enchanted Land has 1 green, tap, create a Tarmogoyf token, which is probably worth unpacking. Going all the way back to episode 1, this is a forest. All forests have tap, add green. If I were to have a Tarmogoyf Nest attached to a forest I controlled, that forest would also have 1 and a green, tap, create a Tarmogoyf token. Note that these are separate abilities and both require the enchanted forest to tap itself as a cost. This means that, at any time when my enchanted forest is untapped, I can either tap it to add 1 green mana to my mana pool, or I can pay a generic mana, a green mana, and tap it to create a Tarmogoyf token, not both. Activated abilities on land that require tapping can be thought of as costing 1 more mana to activate because using them denies you the opportunity to use the mana that land could otherwise produce for other things. For example, Castle Garenbrig looks like you are paying 4 mana for 6 mana, but effectively you are paying 5 mana for 6 mana because by tapping it, you are denying yourself the 1 green it could have produced with its other tap ability. Okay, so now my land has an extra ability on it. What does that ability do? Well, it creates a Tarmogoyf token under my control. Okay, what is a Tarmogoyf token? Well, as it turns out, there's a rule for that right after the list of predefined tokens in the comprehensive rules. If an effect instructs a player to create a token by name, doesn't define any other characteristics for that token, and the name is not one of the types in the list of predefined tokens above, that player uses the card with that name in the Oracle card reference to determine the characteristics of that token. Worth noting, while the italic reminder text is essentially correct, it doesn't count as the effect defining other characteristics for that token, and also isn't included in the extended art variant. As a reminder, anything in italics on a card, be it reminder text, ability word, or flavor text, shouldn't be required to interpret that card. Side note, I really appreciate that the official rule explicitly directs us to the Oracle card reference. This is a good reminder that, while reading the card doesn't always explain the card, reading the Oracle card reference text for the card and any other cards in the game or referred to by cards in the game, along with all relevant rulings and sections of the most recent iteration of the comprehensive rules, does. Okay, so here is the card named Tarmogoyf. It's a 1 and a green Lurgoyf creature with Tarmogoyf's power is equal to the number of card types among cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. And so, a Tarmogoyf token is a Lurgoyf token creature named Tarmogoyf with mana cost 1 and a green that has Tarmogoyf's power is equal to the number of card types among cards in all graveyards, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. Which brings us back to Kindred. A card type that really only needs to be a card type for obscure rule reasons and only really matters when cards like Tarmogoyf need to know how many are in your graveyard, and for designers when they are needing to remember to include the word creature and typal effects that assume they are only going to find creatures. Or when they don't want a card to be too strong, wouldn't want Rundvelt Hordemaster to let someone cast Tarfire off the top of their library now, would we? But Picklock Prankster finding Bitterblossom is totally fine. In the end, while an oddball card like Tarmogoyf Nest isn't going to come up very often, and Kindred cards are few and far between to begin with, the mechanic is part of Magic the Gathering, and understanding why it has to be the way it is one more step towards being able to read any Magic the Gathering card you may encounter. Plus, someday you might end up sitting across from a Disa the Restless Commander deck, and now that you are familiar with the Kindred card type, you won't have to ask why they put Altar of the Goyf into play after milling it with Barrowgoyf, which happened to me a week before I wrote this script and is why Tarmogoyf Nest jumped out at me when trying to pick a Kindred card to be the focus of this video. You could have had boggart shenanigans. While I certainly appreciate you watching and really do believe building up a robust understanding of the language of Magic the Gathering cards is an important step in learning to play confidently, if you actually want to learn to play, the recently released Foundations Beginner Box is a product that seems to be well designed for getting brand new players into the game, and most of the cards in it and in the Foundations release in general, including the Play Boosters, Jumpstart Boosters, and the Starter Collection, have more reminder text than usual, such that reading a Foundations card usually does, in fact, explain the card. Wizards of the Coast has also started a Magic Academy program, with local game stores having new player-friendly events, so if you don't have anyone in your life to teach you how to play, check with your local game store to see if they do. Not shilling or sponsored or anything, I just don't want to leave you hanging. Hopefully the audio in this video is a little better than it has been in the How to Read a Magic the Gathering card series up to this point. I did what I could with what I had before, and it mostly ended up good enough, but I just got what seems to be a pretty decent microphone with one of those foam cover things and gain controls and everything, so the baseline I'm working with should be a little better. I suspect the new microphone might even encourage me to make more videos because it will be less of a chore editing the audio to sound good enough if the raw recording is better to start with. If you enjoy this series or my videos in general, I would recommend you subscribe to my channel and enable notifications to ensure you don't miss the next one when I get around to making it. While we are all doing things, liking, sharing, and commenting will also remind me that maybe I should make another video. Thanks so much for watching.